welcome to episode number 2 of the Carpe Diem conversation, and our very first episode that has our very first real live guest sharing her real life story about integrating work and life as one. I'm so excited that our very first guest is actually my very first working from anywhere client, and very excited. Karen Lott is our first guest, and she's joining us from the other side of the world, from the UK, where she is actually integrating work and life as one. So Karen's at the back at the moment, backstage, preparing to come and join this conversation. Karen Lott was a co-founder of the not-for-profit Nethercote Produce Market, local market, back in 2009. And as part of that, she realised that there was demand for something very similar, but on a more frequent, more consistent time. So she then went on from there and decided to start Sprout Eden Cafe and Local Produce Store from scratch as a new business back in 2012. And without further ado, let's bring Karen into the studio. Here she is. Say hi, Karen.
Hi.
Fantastic. Now, before we start, our lovely audience out there, this is a conversation. You are invited and encouraged to join this conversation. So please, if you have any questions, we will have Q&A at the end of the show. But there is a bit of a lag, so don't wait until the end of the show to put your questions there. So put them down as comments and put them down as you think of them, and we'll queue them up and answer them at the end of the show. So without further ado, let's start this conversation. First of all, how's the weather over there?
It's absolutely beautiful, much better than expected in England at this time of year.
Yeah, awesome. Now, first of all, I don't know if I said that in the intro, but Karen is actually, yes, I did mention Karen is over in the UK. She's been there a week, and you should be over jet lag by now. It's nearly a week to the day since you've been over there.
No, I'm really, really lucky with jet lag, actually. I think 23 years as a flight attendant cured that for me, and it's something I've never really suffered with, so I'm very, very lucky. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, let's get started. You ready to chat?
Yeah, let's chat.
Okay. First of all, I know a bit about you and your business, but there's some people in the audience that might not. So tell us a little bit about Karen Lott and Sprout Eden Cafe and Local Produce Store.
Okay, so yes, as you said in the introduction, it was very much inspired by the co-founding of the Nethercote Seasonal Produce Markets back in 2009. They are a farmer's market, food only, and they only run every 3 months, and it's all volunteer run, and all profits go into the local community, generally into school gardens and that sort of thing, but anything to do with growing food. And we were always being asked, you must do this more often. So there was definitely a need for it there. I left flying and I was sick for a little while, but then ready to get back into life. I noticed an empty shop in the main street of Eden one day and thought, okay, that's it, Nethercote market on a daily basis. So Sprout Eden was born. It took a while to fit out the shop, and Stan, my life partner, was very dedicated to doing that beautifully, and hats off to him for helping me realize the dream. So yeah, we fought council over a few issues, and so it meant that we didn't open until the 20th of December, which was right before the really, really busy tourist time, but we managed to pull a team together and get started, and we've been highly successful with praise and business awards throughout that time. I'm very happy to have gone from strength to strength.
Fantastic. Yeah, it has been very successful. But unlike what a lot of people think, success doesn't happen overnight. Back then, when you were building a business, and I know building a business from scratch is tough. It's really tough. So tell us a bit about, the challenges. What sort of hours were you working way back then, especially at the beginning, and for how many? How did that work for you?
Oh, it was totally all-consuming. I flew by the seat of my pants, really, because I knew nothing about business. I had a life in hospitality, but I knew nothing about business. So everything I had to learn from scratch from day one. And yeah, it was a big learning curve. Everything was done manually. It was 24/7, just about it. Well, no, not 24/7, but I think, yeah, it was always 1 o'clock in the morning finish. By the time I got the bookwork up to date, and yeah, it's 7 days a week for a long time, probably until I met you, Andy.
Actually, I can still remember when we did first meet up, and you were telling me about being up until midnight to do the book. So you were working really, really long hours. Obviously, 7 days a week. It was a bricks and mortar business. You had to be there. You were building the business, and obviously it might have been fun to start with, but it would have got to really hard work. So at some point you made the decision to look at an alternative way, look at the other options. But what motivated you? What changed, not prompted you to make that change, and what changes did you make?
Well, I think having family in England and wanting, like, all the years I was flying, I got back to England regularly, so it didn't matter. But having family and friends in England, I wanted to be able to come back here occasionally. And I wanted to be able to just take time off, which really didn't seem very possible. So I went to a business forum in Bega in 2016, I think it was. Or yeah, anyway, you presented there, and you were talking about working from anywhere, and that was a brand new idea for me. And I wasn't very technological in those days, didn't know much about the cloud or that sort of thing. I mean, I knew how to use a computer, but very basically. And it just opened up some new thinking for me, and pushed that to the back of my mind, got busy again. And then actually you were in Sprout Eden one day, and I heard you talking to someone else, and oh my God, I know that guy. I've come across him before. So grabbed the opportunity. You had a voucher to spend in there somehow. Anyway, so I started talking to you then, and you were like, yeah, sure, we can get together and have a look at what you're doing in your business and how we might be able to make it easier. So we started working together then for a couple of months, and I realized that we could really make this work. I could really make this work, and get some time off and go away. And I think I used it. The first time was to be able to get away and go to a trade show, probably Melbourne International Coffee Expo or something, just for a couple of days, just to try it out. By not being physically around in the business for a few days, and that yeah.
So when we started, back in the early part of that, did you think it was possible? I know when we first chatted, you did say up front that you wanted to go to UK and Europe. Did you think that was possible?
Oh, I probably hoped it was. I don't know how realistic I thought it was. Yeah, for lots of reasons, not least money, I suppose. But yeah, just having a bricks and mortar business and knowing how much I did physically by hand, and needed to communicate with my staff on things all the time. Until I'd learnt the tools, I didn't realise how much of that was able to be done remotely and from anywhere in the world. But I knew that I could probably afford to do it because of having had a career in flying. I have cheap airfares, and I looked at other, and so I have family to stay with and friends, but I supplement that by doing house sitting and teaching English and that sort of thing. So the expenses overseas aren't that much. It's kind of just like living your normal life. It's not living a luxurious life always, and still being able to run the business. It's just from a different place. So
it was sort of a dream, but anyway, we worked on it, and I agree with you. Being overseas doesn't mean you have to travel and go on luxury cruises. I go to the French Alps, and I just shop down the supermarket just like I do here. So it's just like living, but you're living somewhere else. But Anyway, yeah, we did. I remember our sessions, 2 hours every week for, I think, 10 weeks to work through some things, which were some challenging times for you. But then off you went. Off you went to Europe, and tell us about what happened when off you went. You were heading to Europe for a month. What happened when you got there?
Yeah, well, no, everything went lovely, as planned, spending time with friends and family. And then I thought, if I'm going to do this every year, maybe I'd like to travel around England a bit more and other places in Europe and not always just be with friends and family. So I thought, what about checking out house sitting? So I did, and I realized what a huge world that is and how possible that was. And it's a wonderful arrangement. Where you stay in somebody's house and look after their house and animals in exchange for them, well, having a roof over your head. But yeah, it's a caring situation, that you care for their house and they feel confident to go away for a while. So there's no money changes hands there. And so then I saw one that was coming up like the next week to look after this cat. And I thought, oh, well, there's no point going all the way home now and wondering how house sitting might work. So I applied for the job and I got it. I did check out whether it was okay with everyone if I stayed longer. And it was I think it was a 3-week assignment. So yeah, that's how it turned into a two-month job.
Yes. So the story is you actually did go there for a month and you come back 2 months later. How did you find, you've gone from not being out of your business hardly at all to spending a month out of your business and then spending 2 months out of your business. How did you feel when you were over there? And was there any nerves around, I know you had a fantastic team and we put some systems in place. How did that work for you? Did you feel comfortable overseeing the business and confident?
Yes, I did. And obviously that's why, a month felt like a big ask in the first place. But having seen and witnessed and experienced how brilliantly everything was running, especially with my fantastic team back in Australia, that was why I was able to confidently say, well, I'm going to stay a bit longer. Yeah.
And so you did.
I did.
Yeah. And so 2 months later, when you did eventually come back, and you come back to your business, obviously, what happened then? So you've come back to your business. Obviously, there would have been a bit of catching up to do. How are things different in your business and the way you run your business when you come back from that trip?
Well, I suppose I realised how superfluous I was. How they could live without me. They didn't need me there on a daily basis. So I then basically took myself from off shift, so no longer being there for a full shift every day. I started working from home a lot more, which I then felt very cut off actually. So now I have an office on site in the flat above the shop, which is a wonderful mixture because I can work on the business. I'm there to pop down throughout the day, see my staff, see my customers, and retain those relationships whilst not actually physically being there on shift, fretting about the bookwork that needs doing and the other things. And also being able to spend time exploring new avenues and new tools to bring into the business to keep making it flow easier. At the moment, I'm exploring a coffee ordering app, 365 Cups, which will make things much easier for people to order and pay in advance. And I've recently changed to using Deputy for our rostering system and timesheets, and Xero as a new accounting package for us that can then manage doing the pays for me. So all of these things, I wouldn't have had time to explore these and implement them had I not worked with you to gain confidence in discovering new tools and then the time to explore them.
Yeah, well, that sort of answers a bit of my next question, and that is, so how has your business itself benefited basically from you not being there?
Well, it can run independently of me. My staff totally know what the business is about, what I'm about, what my passion is, and how to implement that. They can all do that. Yep.
Has your business grown since, because you have had more time to actually work on it? Is that helped at all?
Yes, it has. I guess it's enabled us to develop new ideas to implement in the business, which then, does help it grow for sure.
Yeah. Well, I know you're always doing new stuff down there. There's always something on Facebook where you're trying something new, which is fantastic. And that often comes with having the headspace to actually do that.
Yeah.
So looking back on that experience and where you are now, and since then you've now been back over there to the UK, Europe for every year since that first year. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. This is the 3rd year running. Yeah.
So how's that decision and your transition to changing the way you run your business? How's that affected? What difference has it made to your life?
Oh, just enormous. It's enabled me to have freedom and flexibility, even without coming to Europe. Just the fact that I can go and take a few days off here and there to do things, and often they are business related, but to go to trade expos, food expos in Sydney and that sort of thing, to then gain new ideas of keeping the business alive and see what's happening in the industry. That's also beneficial.
Yeah. So you really feel that you are integrating work and life as well?
Oh, definitely.
You don't have that restriction, which it's hard to explain to people. It's not just working remotely. It's making the choices around when you work as well as where you work. So you feel that has made a really big difference?
Enormous, yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So for all the other business owners out there, the people that are tuned in, or the people might watch the replay or the recording of this, do you have any advice or tips for them, maybe business owners that are potentially in a similar situation to you were way back then, when you were working 7 days a week and lots of hours till midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning? What advice would you have for them, a tip for them?
Just give it a go. Like, you don't know what you don't know either, do you? So by working with you, you were able to have that discussion with me about what I'm doing, what I was doing then, and you already knew so many of the tools that you were able to say, well, how about you just try this to start with and that to start with, and then so we built the tools then. So I think, I would definitely say just start, have the conversation, have a chat with you, so that and just get started in a couple of areas and see how that then leads.
Yeah, awesome. Seize the day. Fantastic. Well, it's been fantastic, and thank you for sharing your story. Now's probably a really good time. I don't see any questions just yet, but surely someone out there has a question for Karen. Please, here, we'll put a couple of comments up while we're waiting. Simone Isles says, "You are so amazing, Karen. Such an inspiration." Absolutely. Oh, and Courtney, my daughter's here. She said hi. She had trouble finding us. Greg. Hey, Greg. Hey there, Andy and Karen. And Kay was here too. Who else we got there? Ian Reed. G'day, Andy. Now, you don't know Ian, Karen, but actually Ian will be taking your place next week. And my sister just sent me a personal message saying for some reason she can't comment, so I don't know. So we've got other comments here, so I'm not sure what's happening there, Karen. Hopefully there's no Karen, my sister, that is. Oh, here we go. We do have a question. Not sure if you can answer this one, but the question is from Simone: who wants to babysit so I can WFA in 2020? So we'll throw that out there to the audience as well as Karen. I don't think your house sitting and pet sitting takes babysitting. Sorry, we can't help you there, Simone. Okay, Simone has got another question. Karen, how long from when you saw the shop until you opened?
6 months.
6 months. There you go.
Yeah.
So, was it was an existing cafe?
No, it was an empty shell.
It's an empty shell. There you go.
Completely fit out. Yeah. Well, I say 6 months probably from when we took over the building. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, no problem. All right. I think we've come to the end of the questions there, and my sister Karen says she's having trouble commenting, so maybe. Oh, here we go. Karen's commenting off the screen there. She said, "I can't comment. Let me just. This is live, so we're doing it ad hoc, but that's okay." Karen's question on the phone here on the. Many bricks and mortar business owners assume you have to put on extra staff / management to be able to take leave from the business, which is an extra expense. Do you have to do that? So have you had to put on extra staff so you can take leave from the business?
Well, certainly not now that I'm not on staff anyway. I guess in the first place, it was a case of, it wasn't extra staff, it was just giving other current staff a few more hours to cover. But now that I'm not on roster, that doesn't come into the picture at all.
Yeah. So your life's more or less, whether you're there in the country or out the country, it's all the same, because
Absolutely.
And that's happened over time, I would assume.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Greg, Sarah, and when do your cooking classes start in the new kitchen? I didn't even know you had cooking classes in the new kitchen.
Oh, yes. Well, hopefully towards the end of the year, if not the beginning of next year. As everything, slow progress is better than no progress, and it's taken a bit longer to finish the fit out than we would have hoped. But yeah, so cooking demonstrations, meet the grower, that sort of thing will be happening on site in the new kitchen. Watch this space.
Awesome. Now we are getting more comments here, so we'll just go to the last two. One is Kay. That's a quick and easy one.
Of course I do. I'll see you at the market in October.
Yeah, fantastic. And we have Justine Cox. Hey, Justine. Justine has a question, and it's, what's next for you?
Oh, I don't know. I'm pretty much enjoying what we're doing anyway, but still evolving the business. Like we've just been talking about the kitchen space and what might go on there. Might be combined with a co-working space as well. So, yeah.
Exciting. Awesome. Okay, let's wrap this up. Ian Reid says, thanks for sharing your journey, Karen. A great story. See you in Eden sometime. I know actually Ian's coming up this weekend. So thank you so much for sharing your story. I've been so excited to actually have you, my first client, as our very first guest. So thank you so much. Where can people find you, for those that don't know where you are, either social media, online, if they want to contact you?
Okay, so all of that, Sprout Eden website, sprouteden.com.au. We're on Facebook as Sprout Eden Cafe and Local Produce Store. We're on Instagram. Yeah, all the usual.
Awesome, fantastic. Now, Ian Reid, who did just comment there, next week, first, before we do go, thank you so much, everyone. There's quite a few people out there watching. Thank you so much for joining this conversation and being part of the conversation. It's lovely to get some comments. Please join us next week when we will have Ian Reid. Ian Reid has quite a large business down in the Gippsland. He has 30 staff, and he too is integrating work and life as one. He won't be overseas, but he'll only be 1 week away from his next trip, which will be the second trip this year. And he'll be joining us to share his story next week. So please come along next week, bring a friend, and if you know anyone out there that is integrating work and life as one, and they'd like to, you think their story's worthy of sharing, please get them in touch with me. So thank you very much, Karen, for sharing your story. Thank you very much, everyone else.
Okay.
As always, say goodbye, Karen, to everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody.
Carpe Diem. Seize the day every single day.